Good morning, Albuquerque, and welcome to another episode of That Saturday Show, brought to you by the Albuquerque Center for Peace and Justice, your voice and your advocate for social justice. I'm Jim Harvey, your host, and there's a great show in store for you today, and we hope that at the end of this show, we'll all be a little bit smarter. We're observing Sexual Assault Awareness Month, and with us today will be Alexandria Niecy Taylor. You'll hear from her shortly. And we want to share some important information about that month and about what Sexual Assault Awareness Month is about and all the work that's going on here in New Mexico. Wednesday was 420 Day. And for those of you who recognize that date, you'll know the significance of that date. To celebrate 420, we will have a conversation today with Josh McCurdy and Chad Lozano of Gnarly Farmers. You're going to love these two guys, I can tell you. Sad to report that the 420 festival that was scheduled to happen right out here on Central was canceled by the police, and they gave the flimsiest excuse you could come up with. They said that because it was happening on a Wednesday and it was downtown on busy Central, that they just could not seem to bring themselves to closing down the street. They would do it for movie productions. They would do it if the mayor wanted to have a parade today or any other day, but they could not bring themselves to closing down Central and letting the 420 festival happen last Wednesday. On the police. So unfortunate. In other news, a story we keep watching, our district attorney, Raul Torres, continues to push to outlaw the New Mexico Civil Guard, and rightly so. This is a vigilante group headed by white supremacists who terrorize peaceful protesters, and one such protester back in 2020 was shot in the back. This group is a hate group, and they are to the right of Donald Trump, and they come right out of that creep's playbook. And there's no room for gun-toting vigilantes who threaten the free speech of those on the side of justice. Let's keep an eye on this case, folks. No justice, no peace. Our own Matt John is going to introduce music by the incredible Gigi Bella. And stay tuned for a fond farewell. But first, let me get this off my chest. Two news stories that have just bugged the hell out of me and left me with more questions than answers. There's the case of the Papini Woman out in California who faked her kidnapping and blamed it on two Hispanic women. The entire community was up in arms about this, and when it was discovered that she was lying about the whole thing, she entered into plea bargaining away 35 frickin' felonies. And she's plea bargaining down to 14 months in jail and a fine. Yes, you guessed it. She's a white woman. She's getting away with it. This woman endangered the lives of an entire community of people, particularly people of Hispanic descent, that everybody in that town was looking at with a side eye. Stereotyping them, having people point to them, people slamming on people's doors, demanding that they know where the two Hispanic kidnappers are. All kinds of strange stuff happened, and it cost her community thousands of dollars in resources, and then she pulled those resources away from searching for real victims of kidnapping, and all she gets is a slap on the wrist. Now, Measure that against stories of two black women. One woman enrolled her child in a better school district using her father's address. Now, the woman was pretty much homeless, and so she wanted the best for her child. All she wanted was a better education for her child. She wanted that child to have everything that she probably never could have gotten herself. The other woman, not realizing that she couldn't be in a voting booth because she was an ex-felon, she went on and voted. But she only voted a provisional ballot that didn't even get counted. Her ballot was only a provisional ballot. And those two women, two black women, got 5 years each. Justice. Justice? Justice means just us white folks. And it's, and God, I can't say much more about that. I really can't. I really, really can't. Now, let's get down to a little business here. We've got in the studio and is sitting right next to me an incredible woman that I've had the privilege of knowing for quite a while now. She's a native of New Mexico, and she is the deputy director of the Coalition of Sexual Assault Programs for the state of New Mexico. Is that right? Alexandria Niecy Taylor?
That's right, Jim.
Welcome to That Saturday Show. I'm glad you're here with us today.
Thanks for having me. It's good to be here with you today.
Yes.
It's really good.
It's wonderful. So April is Sexual Assault Awareness Month, and it's a time when there should be heightened attention to what's going on in and around New Mexico. So I'm just going to get out of the way and just talk to us. Just talk to us about what's going on around Sexual Assault Awareness Month and what's going on in CSAP as well.
Sure. Thank you for that invitation. You're right. April is Sexual Assault Awareness Month. It is also Child Abuse Prevention Month, which the two go hand in hand because in New Mexico, 41% of sexual assaults involve children under the age of 18. So we use this month to really raise awareness, not only around sexual assault, but also that some of the most vulnerable in our communities, our children, are at such high risk of experiencing sexual assault at such a young age. And so there are many things that are happening around the state right now to raise awareness. Our programs in every corner of the state have events going on, and I'll share where you can find information about that later. But we have awareness events happening all over the state, conversations happening one-on-one, in groups, in community settings. And we really just hope that people engage in the conversation, that sexual assault does not become or continue to be an issue that we only talk about behind closed doors, but that we really bring it to light and start to raise awareness that this is happening every day to people we love and are in community with.
So CSAP is a statewide organization, and there are partner organizations all over the state that are doing some really great work. So can you talk about some of the events and awareness projects that are happening, especially this month, that we need to zero in on?
Absolutely. So NMCSAP coordinates and partners with the 13 rape crisis centers, 11 sexual assault nurse exam programs, and 11 children's advocacy centers that are situated all over our state. We really try to build a network of providers that no matter where you are in New Mexico, when you need help, there is a center that is responding or is responsible to responding to you. And so this month, there are events happening all over the state. One coming up on Thursday at 1 p.m. We are hosting on the NMCSAP Facebook Live panel about Athlete A, which covers the sexual assault scandal and abuses in the USA Gymnastics organization. There are programs in Farmington and Gallup, who on Tuesday will be hosting Take Back the Night events, which is a grassroots movement to claim that the night shouldn't be unsafe particularly for women to walk around freely. And so 40 years ago, Take Back the Night events began to claim that we can be out at night, we can be free, we can be liberated, and nobody should violate us for doing so.
It's so important to continue to drive home a message, particularly with women who are victims of sexual assault, that it's not their fault.
That's right.
And we live in a state that is still so deeply dug into that male superiority, that male dominance. We can't even get good support in our legislature around strengthening laws to protect women in particular against sexual assault. Is there any discussion going on right now anywhere in the state or within CSAP itself about taking on some legislative challenges?
Absolutely. That's a major part of our work. And in NMCSAP, we view our work being about culture change, right? To change the atmosphere, as you described, and the beliefs around sexual violence means that we have to see culture shift. And we view our advocacy work, our awareness month during April and the entire year, and our policy work as being a part of the formula to create that culture shift. And so I always say that, I feel like decision makers and stakeholders can more easily talk about issues such as domestic violence and child abuse because they can say, well, I'm not abusing my child or I'm not harming my spouse, right? But when you talk about the culture of sexual violence that is pervasive in our society, that spans over folks' lifetime, they start to question, well, if I make laws that hold people accountable for sexual violence, meaning the continuum of harassment all the way to rape, they start to question, will someone say, I harmed them, right? Because it has been such an operating standard in our culture. And so we are about creating culture shift. You'll see that in our legislative agenda. For the past 3 years, we have been working to pass an affirmative consent law, which simply says that an affirmative consent standard must be taught in the 1 health credit in either middle school or high school. We're not trying to add to what must be taught. We're not trying to add an extra credit. Just simply say that a clear standard of affirmative consent, that yes means yes, be taught to young people in school. It is the priority of young people. When we talk to young people about consent, what they tell us is that we need to understand this. We need to know how to negotiate what we're asking for. We need to understand how to be in a healthy relationship. They are using their phones now. They are using emojis, and they want guidance on how to do that in a healthy way. We hear from survivors that an affirmative consent standard is a demand of survivors. They believe that when people are taught that yes means yes, it begins to shift the soil that sexual violence has been able to thrive in our culture. And so that's something that we have worked on for the past 3 years. It has not been successful yet. We will keep working on that because the young people are telling us we are experiencing sexual assault in our schools and there's not a response for it. And so we believe in being led by the people who are directly impacted by the issue.
So what are the levels of resistance like? Where are the pockets of resistance in the state legislature that some of our viewers might want to help take on and gently persuade them that they need to support this legislation?
I think we have to talk to everyone, right? I work at a sexual assault coalition, so I say that word all day, every day. And we have to, one, teach positive, affirmative sex education. That's a first place to start. We're not talking about what healthy sexual education looks like, right? And so when we come in and we're talking about sexual violence, that seems really, that is full of shame. It seems really taboo because we're not even able to have healthy conversations about sex. And so it's about talking to people about the issue, not only of sexual violence, but about what healthy relationships look like. When I am teaching a 3-year-old about not touching my food, that is teaching affirmative consent, that you can't just grab food off of my plate
Absolutely.
without my consent, right? And so there are age-appropriate ways for us to have these conversations that are not rooted in the fear and shame that folks have around sex education.
No means no.
No means no, and affirmatively, yes means yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's right. That's absolutely right. So
An enthusiastic yes.
an enthusiastic yes, right? Exactly. We've got to say yes to this legislation.
Yes.
You know, this is really an important step in bringing New Mexico into the 21st century.
Absolutely.
You know, it just has to happen. So men in particular in the state legislature,
That's right.
you got to do better. You've just got to do better. So I know that a few years ago, the big deal in the news was rape test kits.
Yes.
And it's back in the news now. I'm beginning to hear that there's so much more of it has to be done. There still remains a large number of kits, and they continue to be growing. You know, can you tell us what's happening there with rape test kits and processing them?
Yeah, as Jim, as you know, I think you were in the movement directly at that time,
was,
right?
yeah.
And it was a really intense time to realize that people who had sought help 30 years ago, had followed all of the steps, had never had their kits tested. Right. You brought up the word justice in your introduction. What is justice if the system doesn't respond with the promises that we say we're going to respond with? So at the time, this was a New Mexico issue, and it was a major national issue. And so at that time, what we did is we passed a state law that required that all of the sexual assault exam kits be processed, that the City of Albuquerque lab and the state lab begin to process those kits. And we passed a Survivor's Bill of Rights that lays out in state statute what survivors of sexual assault can know that they have a right to. It includes things like having the right to an advocate, having the right to a support person with you all along the process, having a right to have ongoing, on-time updates about your case, knowing when your kit has been processed. And so it took several years in New Mexico.
Yeah.
But those kits have been processed, notifications have been made, and now we have a tracking system. Actually, CSAP does the tracking system where every kit gets a barcode and is scanned in, and we can see in real time where that kit is at. Is it sitting on someone's shelf in a department in rural New Mexico? Has it already been transported to the lab? Has it been processed? Because for survivors, you know, what we hear is that they want to be informed.
Yeah.
So much of their decision-making and their autonomy was ripped from them. And so a part of justice, a part of the healing process is beginning to empower them to have their own autonomy again, to make decisions for themselves again, and to feel in control of their lives. And so it's our responsibility to make sure that they have access to the information about their life to make those decisions and to be in control of. And so those are ways that major system failures can turn into major system improvements, and they require constant monitoring. You know, we should never let any of us off the hook. And we should always be going back again to the people most directly impacted to make sure that the system and the responses that we've created are working for them. And so if someone has had a sexual assault exam kit and they are not being informed, or they feel like their rights are not being upheld, you know, they should contact us and let us know so that we can figure out what is happening and what parts of that system are not working for them. That's
great. I love progress.
Even if it's slow.
It's slow, but it happens,
Yeah,
right? And
yeah.
This is good news. So my friend Laura Dale, local actress here in town, has been. I know she's been in conversation, you know, with CSAP about what needs to happen to ensure the safety of actors on movie sets. And I was just wondering if there's any movement, there in terms of, what needs to happen there. We know about the tragedy that happened with Alex Baldwin and the gun, but more often what happens is, particularly when you're talking about actors shooting films out in rural areas where there's no communication, something needs to happen so that people have a safety space, a safety trigger, if you will, that they can rely on to keep themselves safe. So I was wondering if there's anything happening. Is that moving forward in any way?
It is. An incredible advocate, Laura is,
She's
right?
wonderful. Yeah.
And something that, sexual violence happens in so many different settings, right? And so not even something that may have been on our radar, but because someone who is a part of that industry and is committed to addressing sexual harassment, sexual violence in that industry brought to our attention, right? And it started out with a conversation about what does training look like? What does policy look like? And really coming to know that we are not the experts on that, because we are not the experts in the film industry, but to really lean into those who are and to those who know what the culture is on a set, so that then we can take our expertise around sexual violence and combine that in community with those who understand what it's like on those sets,
Sure.
right? And so, again, slow progress, but a conversation that otherwise would not have happened had she not brought it to our attention.
Kudos to Laura Dale.
Yeah.
She's a friend of this show, in fact.
Wonderful.
And I'm just happy that she's getting some traction,
Yeah.
on such an important project. So we've got a couple minutes left, and I wanted to just give you some time to, make announcements and, share anything that's happening that you think we need to know about coming up.
Thank you. One of the great resources is to find NMCSAP on social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. We also view reaching people the way that people are reached now, right? And so incredible resources. Really looking at sexual violence in the context of a social justice lens, an anti-oppression framework, and looking at how sexual violence occurs at the intersection. So we ask people to amplify those messages because it is about culture shift. You can go to nmcsap.org. We have a calendar up on the website that lists all of the events that are happening. It lists trainings that are happening. All of NMCSAP's trainings are free of charge. We want as many people in the state, from the neighbor to the licensed therapist, to be trained in responding. When someone says, I have been sexually assaulted, or I was raped, or I was harmed in this way, we want everyone to know, to start by believing, to hold compassionate space for that person, and to go from there. And so all of our trainings are available and are up on our website, and links to all of our programs all over the state are there as well. Again, as I shared on Thursday on NMCSAP's Facebook Live, we'll be having a panel discussion about Athlete A. Join us there, engage in conversation, and just know that this is a conversation that should be happening all the time.
Alexandria, Niecy, Taylor, this has been a
Harvey.
wonderful, wonderful engagement. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jim.
Really appreciate the great work you're doing. Sexual assault is serious stuff, y'all. It's not to be whispered. It's to be shouted from the roof. We've got to stop it. We really do. Now, thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Jim.
you so much. Let's go to our resident music geek, Matt John, who's going to introduce our music for the day, Gigi Bella.
Good morning. I'm Matt John, the resident music geek here at That Saturday Show. And with us today is the renowned Albuquerque poet, Gigi Bella. And so Gigi has a great resume. She is a theater arts teacher at Sandia Prep and has toured extensively, being ranked in the top 10 in the world in 2017. And upcoming residency in France. Can you tell us a little?
Absolutely. So I'm really excited to go and hang out with all the goats and start working on a very New Mexican book. I'm writing about the Barelas neighborhood and my Mexican lineage. My great-grandmother passed during COVID and was 100, and I got inspired by all her old pictures. So I'm going to go in really far away to the quiet and write all about that.
That is wonderful. My condolences on your loss, but that is a wonderful long life. And so also one of your poems is a palindrome.
Yes, I have a poem called Mosquito Mestizo, and you can read it backwards and forwards. So when you read it one way, it's like a mosquito talking about blood and just kind of it's personified like a character. And then when you read it the other way, it's about being a mestiza Mexican woman and blood and lineage.
That's truly awesome. And I've enjoyed watching your clips online as I prepared. And so this Thursday, Gigi will be among the poets here on Studio 519. That's going to be actually the 28th of April. And so let us please welcome the renowned poet, Gigi Bella.
Okay, so I am really excited to get to share this piece. It is a piece that I love to do in every space that I'm in, every time I have an opportunity. And I know that COVID and being back in the world has been a real struggle for a lot of us. So this is kind of just a little prayer for you, for me. If you're struggling, we want you here. And this is a poem about that. And it's called Lent. It starts with a song you might know. Somebody says you got a new friend. Does she love you better than I can? There's a big black sky over my town. I know where you're at, I bet she's around. I'm in the corner, watching you kiss her. Oh, I'm right over here, why can't you see me? Oh, I'm giving it my all, 'cause I'm not the guy you're taking home. Ooh, I'll keep dancing on my own. On the first Sunday of Lent, Pastor Judy says to come to the front if the Spirit moves you, if you're looking for healing. So I move, and my forehead is anointed with oil, and I have bangs, so my hair is just greasy now. And I wonder if Jesus' hair was greasy. Maybe that's why he was so holy and shiny all the time. I make this joke whenever I go to church with my family about how none of it really applies to me because I'm a witch. It's not a joke. I went to the Colorado River looking for Yemaya when I moved. Set up my altar with De La Rosa Mazapan and candles for Selena, Frida Kahlo, and Barbara Streisand. I am the Femtecostal congregation at my own Chicana church. As I'm waiting in line to be healed, I become acutely aware that I have forgotten how to pray. Lost in the sunken sad of myself, my therapist says I am a dark room searching for a flashlight. My other therapist says to remember the Mermaid magazine cover of me. The holiest thing I can think of is the fact that I woke up this morning, scrolled the Bible of Instagram makeup tutorial, and painted myself into parable. Blessed be my chrome blue hoops, vintage denim with all the patches, choosing the Bowie platforms over slip-ons. Blessed be my side shave, nose rings, weird tattoos. Blessed be my breath, choosing when to be poem and love song and joke. Blessed be my brave breath, choosing to steady when I am assaulted out of my own hometown. Blessed be my brave breath when my lover turned to alcohol and anger. The holiest thing I can think of is the fact that I woke up this morning. Blessed be my brave breath when I am forsaken, but get back up anyway, love anyway, fight anyway. Blessed be my brave breath when I do not want to breathe. Unlovable sin, collapsed on the floor in ideation. The holiest thing I can think of is the fact that I am still alive, sparkling and spicy as ever, flexing on the past like a sorry bad boyfriend. Blessed be my brave breath when I get up behind the mic, when I am bullied but try again anyway, when I suture my scars into more than enough. Blessed be a prayer that says, you did not break me, you will not break me. I am so alive. Blessed be a prayer that says, I will wake up tomorrow. I have so much to do. Not done here. Blessed be my small cat. Blessed be my fear. Blessed be my ache. Blessed be the glow up that follows the nights I nickname myself Moon. The hundreds of people in the audience listening. The holiest thing I can think of is the fact that I am still alive. And that is so much more than enough. Amen. Amen. Amen.
And you're watching That Saturday Show. And just so you know, we have recorded this show because it's a special occasion. It is 420. And if you don't know what 420 is, you will by the end of this interview.
I hope so.
So we have with us today Josh McCurdy, the owner of Gnarly LLC, Gnarly Farmers, and Chad Lozano, head grower at Gnarly Farmers. And they've got contracts to do a lot of work for a lot of other people around town. But above all, it's about meeting that supply and demand out here by keeping good stuff coming into the market. So, Josh and Chad, welcome to That Saturday Show. And again, happy 420.
Awesome. Thank you for having us, and happy 420. First one
Thank
with
you.
adult sales in the state.
Yes. Thank you for having us. And yes, it's an amazing time. I was a little late to get on just because it's been crazy out there. And I was doing some errands and seeing some dispensaries, see what they were doing. And there's some lines. So
are there? I was wondering about that.
It's getting it.
Good. It's like the first day, April 1st, when everything went legal. You know, we were driving around the city and I was stopping at a lot of the old medical marijuana places, for example, and the lines were just unbelievable. People were lined up, you know, the one around the corner from my house at 8 o'clock in the morning, and they didn't even open until 10. So, you know.
Oh,
so this is
yes.
this is a good time for us all.
Oh, definitely.
Really good time.
Yeah, I agree. You know, speaking of lines, I'm going to be interested to see, and I might be going down there later this evening or this afternoon to the Sunland Park area because they non-420 time, 9/420 days, I guess you could say, they're having anywhere between a 2 to 3 hour wait.
Wow. Already.
Yeah. And that's been since the 1st. So I'm very interested today to see what's going on. And I think the weekend's going to be very large because since 420 was in the middle of the week, not everybody's going to ask their boss in Texas off for 420, right? That might be a red flag to the employer. I don't know. Like, did so-and-so? Where's everybody out of 420? So they might wait for the weekend to really splurge and have some plans with their friends, you know, because if I was living in Texas and everything, that's kind of what I would do. I would definitely plan a weekend, you know, and go somewhere like Ruidoso, nice, cool pines, towels up Santa Fe, somewhere nice, you know, a little cooler than Texas right now. And I would definitely, I would spark it up and enjoy the entire, you know, world of recreational cannabis. Yeah, so I can definitely see that, you know, that wave of people coming, I believe.
I love it. So you guys, tell us a little bit about, well, I know that between the two of you, you've got almost 20 years, you know, of business going here. And you to be commended for that, you know, to be out there at a time when, you know, this wasn't necessarily, you know, a business or a profession or a vocation, if you will, you know, that people looked kindly on. And now, like you said, folks are lining up out the doors and into the streets in order to take advantage. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I
So,
agree.
so tell us a little bit about Gnarly.
Gnarly came about. You know what I mean? I've been in multiple states. I've been fortunate enough, using award-winning techniques and stuff. I won multiple awards personally. And so, I decided when New Mexico went recreational that I was I was in Oklahoma at the time, and I got some phone calls because I've quite a bit of connections here in New Mexico. I was the president of the largest patient advocacy group for 7 to 8 years here, and very deep into the advocacy part of it, and patients, has my heart. Medical world, always will. And so I got some phone calls when we were going recreation. I got some phone calls saying, "Hey, we're going," and I was like, "It didn't pass." They're like, "No, watch, it's going." So I come back. I moved back here, and just been at it. And the bottom line is trying to bring a quality product to the state of New Mexico. That's how I got into advocacy, because the quality wasn't there. And I have a background in management, restaurant management, food management, and there's low margins in that, high chaos. So I figured I'd use that when I got into growing cannabis, over 10 years ago. I even took that approach, as a business, because it was just in my brain. That's how I thought. My process is brains, and so, so I got that, and just started, thinking of processes and systems and everything else, and wanted to bring it to other people in New Mexico. Right. I don't want to be selfish with anything that you've learned or anything like that, especially what's going on. Right. It's a good time. And so, create teams that, like Chad, I've known Chad for years, and we've been growing together and all kinds of fun stuff. And so we come back and we got after it, started meeting people, and we're talking hundreds of people. You know what I mean? Everybody thinks you're going to go meet like one money backer or one money guy or your investors and like done, right? Or stuff. And it's not so. You meet hundreds of people, you have hundreds of deals go to the side. And you're being picky too. You're looking for the people that you want to work with also. So, through that in the last year, and all the stuff we've waded through, we have multiple companies we're working with, from Cuba, New Mexico to Hobbs, New Mexico, Sunland Park here in Las Cruces, and just trying to help people get ahead, right? Because growing cannabis, everybody thinks is easy. Like, oh, we're going to grow a weed, and it's a flowering herb. It's not a weed, first of all. So,
right.
And it can be tricky, especially the expense you have to get into and stuff. So, I just figured, with our experience and all the things we've done wrong, how can we help people, save money? In Oklahoma, I watch people go bankrupt, cash in their 401k, hawk their, put in debt their the businesses and everything else. So I just didn't want that to happen here. So I figured, how could I help more people, and to be honest with you, when you get a good value like that, the money will come. You really, if you focus on the money, you'll probably be in trouble. But if you focus on the value you're giving people, it's always going to come. So I've been very blessed and fortunate. And so, great stuff. Like, I'm super excited. We got some licenses that have been approved, and I got 2 of them that three of them actually have been approved out of the 4. And we're, building out and doing things, staging stuff out, and just, it is chaos and it's fun. So very blessed.
So one of the things that I know, and when you mentioned licensing, one of the things I know is that there, are enough people in the legislature, who were opposed, either hard opponents or soft opponents, who, even though they realized that the train was leaving the station, attempted to attach, certain restrictions to, to how business goes forward. Can you talk about some of the things, some of the pitfalls or landmines that they thought they were going to throw out there for you, and how you navigate around them?
To be honest with you, because of, when I compare it to the medical program and the medical licensing and stuff we had beforehand. And so if you really look into that, that was like Mount Everest as far as licensing, right? It really was. And now we have kind of a molehill is the way I look at it. We have some of the water right issues, but that came because of, some sweet little ladies up north started coming into meetings, and we were concerned that their rural community was losing water, because there was a cannabis grow, down the road from them. And you know, to be fair to the community, the people probably weren't using the best practices, you know, of watering and stuff. And I understand that too. And I come from Carlsbad, New Mexico, where water is precious. People have died over water in this state. So that's it. You know, water is precious. So, you know, I think a lot of people have that pitfall, and then a lot of people don't realize the security that needs to be behind it, right? Because it's a high value crop, and people will want to take it. And so, you know, this ain't like just growing it in your backyard and taking it to the farmer's market and tomatoes. And I really wished it was too. But, you know, when you end of the day, it's not the you know, you're still doing something federally illegal. And I talk about that, you know, it's just because it's not in your face, but you always be aware that you're still being an outlaw. Even in it's legal in the state. Yeah, but the feds don't think so.
That's right.
Yeah. So, you know, I think that's it. I think a lot of people just need to breathe a little bit and calm down and really just start going through their licensing, right? And figuring out what you can and can't do. And I mean, people will really be amazed. It's a lot more simple than it looks at one bite at a time, right? I think that's what it is. People look at it and they see this huge thing, and you know, all these things they attest to and everything. And you just need to go down it and take it one bite at a time. Write your notes. If you need this, you can attest to it. The New Mexico community has been wonderful. Like I have to hand it to us, because the medical was a little not as friendly, I will say, to each other. And there's still people that are not as friendly, but as a whole, and you know what I mean, the community has been great, trying to help each other out, understanding New Mexico is, you know, for New Mexico, and then we're not fighting each other. It's the rest of the nation out there that we're going to be competing against once the federal legalization happens. And we need to help as many of us fellow New Mexicans as we can to be successful in this. And we have a great chance. We have a great area to grow. You know, the climate and the environment. We do, you know, and so we should help everybody to win and make New Mexico on the map of cannabis, like we were on the green chili map, right at the top.
Exactly.
Yeah, and
You
most
know,
of the issues that I was just going to say, most of the issues that we are running into, rule wise, really is through the cities versus really the state. The cities have been more restrictive. The cities and municipalities, I guess, you know, counties, they've been way more restrictive about cannabis than the actual state has. And that's actually been shocking. And some of the areas that have been more restrictive, like Albuquerque, you know, Albuquerque's been way more restrictive than Southern New Mexico. Southern New Mexico is taking a little bit better approach. Don't get me wrong. There's exceptions like Roswell. Poor Roswell over there. You know, there's no adult sales in Roswell right now because the local municipality illegally is telling them that they cannot sell, because in the law it says by April 1st, you must be ready. And the city just flat out said no.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but I don't know. They
could have something in the law that we don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. They should like their children and take that tax money and help their schools is what I think they should do.
Exactly. There's a lot of work to be done in Roswell, and they could use that money, you know. Yeah. So one of the things that one of the bandwagons I've been on, and whenever I talk about it in terms of how to support the cannabis industry, is the push to get New Mexico to approve state banking, the creation of a state bank, you know. And that's the way that you get around the federal restrictions, is if New Mexico has its own banking system, you know, for the state, and you set up rules so you can accommodate the cannabis industry. And that bill I know is coming up for review in January. And so my plug is that I encourage everybody that, you know, that's in the cannabis business now to encourage their customers and all your business partners to get behind it and help push that bill across the line, because that will make things a lot easier for people. I remember people telling me how they, even when it was just medical marijuana, going into places to try and buy some medical marijuana and having to bring cash only. Mm-hmm. Or you bring a Visa card and they would run your Visa card or your MasterCard, you know, and give you some cash back, you know, as a way of being able to make the transaction legal. Shouldn't have to go through all of that, mm-hmm. you know, and so I just hope that, you know, that you guys will help join that cause and push that bill across the finish line for a state bank here.
Oh, yes. I mean, you know, realistically, how nice would it be to have people in the banking industry work with us to help us be more efficient and effective with our money.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yes.
Because right now, essentially, you have to take the money by yourself, and it's expensive because a lot of the times you have to have a convoy. You have to have armed security and someone armed, to take this massive amounts of cash, because most businesses these days don't have as much cash, as they used to in the past, because of debit card, and the electronic stuff like that. So yeah, I think that's something that as a whole industry, we really do need to band together and really fight for a state banking, because the feds are just dragging their feet on this issue.
And heaven help us if you got more than $10,000 to deposit, right?
Oh God, yeah, you're telling me.
Or what's real fun is when you're putting a check in, of a pretty good amount, and they're like, "What is this cannabis farm?" And I'm like, yeah, like cannabis sativa hemp stuff, like there ain't nothing growing yet. I opened up my business account and my bank was looking at me and I was like, what is this exactly for? And I'm like, I'm a consultant. And they're like, of what? And I'm like, I'm an efficiency consultant pretty much. Like, I'll tell you how to be more efficient in any business. I can tell you how to be more efficient in restaurants, to ice cream, to agricultural crops, to growing your own lettuce. Whatever you need, I got you, So yeah, they're like, okay. And I was like, cool. And that's pretty much it though. That's what I really do. I mean, when it gets down to it, I teach people to be more efficient and effective with plants in a business, in that business setting. So, I'm like, I'm not lying to y'all. It's a plant. Like, you know what I mean? If somebody said, "Hey, Josh, we got a strawberry farm. Could you come?" I would come. I would do it. No problem. Tomato farm. I would show up. It just so happens to be I go to quite a bit of cannabis farms.
Right. So since our audience is largely Albuquerque in its makeup, we've got about 5 minutes left here. Time flies when you're having fun.
Oh, definitely.
But I'd like to hone in on some of the stuff that's going on in Albuquerque that's designed to, either make things thrive on one end, or, the kinds of restrictions that the local government's put in place.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. There's a few things, because even Bernalillo County, the county itself, which was really, and it's in the Albuquerque area. I have a friend that she has a farm there, and they're making it hard for her to even have any kind of consumption or anything else, which I thought was odd, because I thought Bernalillo County would be super friendly with it. 1/3 of the population in New Mexico lives in that county. So, they made it really hard for her. She has agricultural land and everything else. And so I was surprised that they did that. And then Albuquerque with their, rules of no drive-throughs. Like, what are you thinking? You don't like money? Like, you don't like tax revenue? The stores are there, everybody. They're not going anywhere. So, I was really surprised how restrictive Albuquerque and the Bernalillo County area and stuff was. And I don't know why they would make it harder for everybody up there. Like, there's already 100 dispensaries up there. Work with the community. Y'all have a good sized community up there. And, if people would just ask and work with it, maybe have a working group with the city councils up there. I think that's a great idea for y'all. That every city council I go to, that's one of my first goes to, is like, let's learn together, everybody. So
and they love it.
Yeah. Well, because I understand they don't get the cannabis world. We get the cannabis world. They get, they know their people they're representing. So we need to meet in the middle somewhere to mellow it out and make sure everybody benefits from this. And especially our, the children and everything else. That's where we need to start looking at even next session is, where's that money coming? Where's it going?
That's right.
Like, is it going to our kids? Is it going to parks? Is it going to, mental health in New Mexico? Let's jam a lot of money up in the mental health program in New Mexico and show what cannabis can do for it, and change that.
I completely agree. Yeah. You guys ought to have your own show.
We do. We have our own podcast.
Do you?
Yeah, we do.
That's good. That is okay. Good. I knew I was onto something, because you work too well together behind that mic, and
we've been doing it for years.
That's good. That is good to know. Well, maybe we could carve out a spot for you on that Saturday show to come on once in a while, and just let's do an update, because this is a work in progress. We know. And I just applaud you guys for the work that you do. So we've got a minute left, and I'd like for you all to just deliver your messages to the viewer.
Sure. So thank you everybody for watching, and new viewers, if you guys want to check us out at NMCanniCast on YouTube, Spotify, most popular podcast sites and areas. We're on Facebook too at NMCanniCast. I'm Chad on Facebook and everything, so you can find us there. We're even on Instagram. So thank you everybody, and let's just keep the nation curious about New Mexico.
Yeah. Help us kill the stigma. Thank you. You know what I mean? It's here now, and let's just do the best we can to make it better for everybody. And, you know, it really does help save lives, and it improves quality of life. I mean, it's a medicinal plant.
Cool. Thank you, Josh. Thank you, Chad. And everybody, keep your eyes open, because we just might luck up on these two guys as regular contributors. Really appreciate you. Take care, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right. So at the top of the show, I promised you a fond farewell. And guess what? Here it is. Hasani and I both are leaving Albuquerque and moving to Chicago. We always joke that we're leaving Albuquerque to get away from the crime. And we know what Chicago's crime is like, you know. So we're going from the frying pan into the fire. But we wanted to just take a little time today to talk about our life and experience here on That Saturday Show. We came to you for the first time right after January 6th, 2021. And we brought you some interesting stories right out the gate. And one of the things that happened during that period was Hasani said, you know, what we got to do is something, since this is a Saturday morning show, we need to do something to uplift people. And Hasani brought you Good News. Hasani, talk to us about that.
Well, thank you, Jim. And I'm so glad to have been a part of this wonderful experience, even though the first day of the show, we were all, what's going on? The world is falling apart. And it was very devastating that day, but we pulled it off. But when the show was being planned, we were in the pandemic, and I was feeling some type of ways, as the kids say. And it was nothing but bad news, bad things to report, bad things to see. And I went online and I found this show called Some Good News. And I was like, you know what, this is what I need. I need to watch good news, something that's uplifting and inspiring. And when we had the meeting about the show, I was like, can I just chime in about some good news? Just a little second. Because good news, it's something positive, encouraging, uplifting, and desirable. And to tell you the truth, it doesn't matter where good news comes from, whether it's Albuquerque or in Japan or Germany or anywhere on Mars. Ask Elon Musk, they up there now.
If it makes you feel good.
But if it makes you feel good, it lets, it dries up the tears. It gives you something to smile about. Laughter is the best medicine, so a smile is the same way. And we just report on nothing but good news. I love dad jokes, so that's why I always inserted little crazy dad jokes that didn't make any sense to anyone but me. And then we had little Big Mama. Oh my gosh, she is such an inspiration. She'll be back on another outlet, but little Big Mama, she came along and inspired me to inspire the audience.
I used to watch, especially when you did Good News, and Little Big Mama was a part of that particular segment. And I'd watch everybody here in the studio just run to watch it on the screen and get a good laugh, from that particular segment, because Little Big Mama was just hilarious.
Hi, Hasani. Bye now.
And how you created her and brought her to life was just really so much fun.
I have to say that working on this show, if you see episode 1 to last week's episode, Good News has evolved immensely. And I have to find the good in this show. And that was, it inspired me to work harder and study on how to make my segment more creative with the music, with the fade-ins, the fade-out, the good news that comes across the front. I had to work and learn that, and it was only because of the quality of the show and the vision that inspired me to do better and bigger. And I have to say, I pat myself on the back because I brought it from episode 1 till now, and it's been wonderful. So thank you all here at that Saturday show for being an inspiration to me.
There's always room. There's always room. You know, I just like to spend time with hard news. I'm going to be the one that's got the punch and bring all the hard, serious stuff. And, you know, but I had some fun as well. You know, we brought in Bobby's Homestyle Catering, and, you know, and we brought interns like the one who's sneaking up on me over here right now. And it's just been such a wonderful, wonderful time. And I've had a ball. I had a ball. And what is this? Oh my God!
We also had Quenisha's cakes on the show.
We did.
On the count of 3. Thank you, Jim and Hasani.
Oh my gosh.
Fantastic. Oh, this is wonderful.
Y'all not gonna make me cry.
See?
Y'all not
Yes.
gonna make me cry.
Susie's here. Oh, this is great. Look. Oh, I love it.
Oh gosh.
Oh, this is
Thank
great.
you guys.
Thanks
This
very
is
much.
great.
Happy trails. Say hi
Thank
to
you.
everybody in Chicago.
Thank
from
you
us.
so much, everybody. We love you guys.
Thank you guys. Thank you.
And-
Always
and-
stay inspired and
Yes.
uplifted, and always look for your good news.
And to our listening audience, to our viewers, you know, we love you. Keep watching that Saturday show because, like I said, our commitment here at the show is to uplift you with important information. And if it gets too heavy, we'll always make certain that there's going to be somebody that's going to bring you some comedic relief. You know, we've got Jason here from Gen X Academy, and Jason is going to be prepared to bring you some funny stuff. And I'm sure that our director, Tom Dent, is going to do everything he possibly can to make certain that this show is riveting, educational, and full of excitement and fun. So again, I love you all. Hasani, thank you so much for Good News News.
Thank you, Jim.
You know, and we thank you, audience, for inviting us into your homes and into your lives. All right.
Until the next time, it's time to say goodbye. When you out here in the streets, keep it real, 505. We love everybody, we just want to let you know. Thanks for tuning in to that Saturday show.